My name is Isa, and I'm a Thai and American artist. I do conceptual art. That's a catch-all phrase that I use to describe my work. Recently, I've been looking into ideas of how humans relate to nature and kind of trying to problematize the boundary between those two things, because I think usually when we think about nature, we think about trees, animals, and things that seem very outside of us, especially those of us who live in urban environments. So I'm kind of trying to see how we are still related to those things, like the chicken that you hear in the background. And not only just related, but deeply intertwined and inextricable from nature, or whatever you want to call everything that surrounds us. So the show at our outreach is called Becoming, and it's not really a show, more so an open studio, in the sense that it's open for the public to also come and make things alongside me. So we're all looking into this idea of becoming and what it means to become something that we usually deem as non-human. Oftentimes the things that we've picked up or are looking at are things that are discarded or looked over, inanimate. So by becoming these objects, we're questioning what it means to be human, essentially, and kind of flip the script and look at the world through a different lens, like through a lens of a non-human object, and potentially through doing that, realizing how we as humans are related to these objects, and not just related, but affected by them, and they can influence us in certain ways and stuff like that. So to kind of start to notice those interconnections. The seed for this show is two works that I did, and they're showing at the front when you enter. One is called Becoming Coconut, and the other one is called Becoming Stick. And each of these works kind of were me doing performative actions in order to become the object. And for the coconut, I wore a coconut leaf and walked to consume a coconut in a food court, and then brought the coconut back to my studio. And then when I had the coconut in the studio, I was quite inspired by the hole inside of it. So I put the video of me eating that very coconut inside of it. So it's this layer of the coconut where I'm inside of it, but also the coconut is inside of me because I ate it. So it's this layering and intertwine that's like inextricable bond that I have with the coconut in this work. Yeah. So one of the objects that is quite funny and is quite a different take from a lot of the other people that have engaged in this workshop is this piece here. It's the participant, she picked up a leaf, and the leaf had holes in it. So she imagined, what was it that created these holes? And so instead of responding directly to the leaf, she was responding to something that wasn't there and something that had left a trace, So she said, I'm gonna become this thing that makes holes in leaves. And so she took a bunch of other objects and made holes in all of them, tape and bark and flowers and whatever. And then at the bottom, you can see all the remnants of the things that got eaten. And it was interesting also because this piece being on the wall, it has such an aesthetic layout that people have been taking pictures of it because it feels very much like art. Yeah, there's also some other people who did more how do I say? There's some people who did more performative gestures, like this person who made a tissue that says "use me" on it and is trying to become the tissue. So he just put the tissue on front of his face, and he sat down in the corner going like this. And looking at it, at first you might think, you know, okay, he's a tissue. But then reading the response is quite funny, because he talks about like what it means to be a tissue and like how tissues get used by people, and he gets used by people also. So it's like kind of like this almost sad but humorous way of like looking at objects and reflecting about yourself as well, and like the way that you interact with the world. But honestly, all of them are pretty interesting in their own ways. So I would recommend getting to take a look at each of them. Yeah. When people come to the show, I hope that, you know, they will have fun. I always encourage people to play around a bit and to spend time with these objects and thinking through these questions. And so far it's been quite a success. I feel like people have been having fun, have been like, you know, not so scared to try to do something or think about something differently. And that's been quite a positive thing. Like maybe two challenges. One, neither of them are really about mounting the show, I suppose, but more so like how to get people to interact when I have opened the show. So as you can see, like a lot of the work is actually done by participants that's on the walls. And what was happening the first day was that people were coming in and then they wouldn't, you know, immediately engage. They'd look around and then they wouldn't know what to do, or they didn't want to do it. I'm not sure. But later on, I figured out a strategy to kind of get people to engage. And also, I've been handing them directly like the sheet of paper. So as soon as you walk in, you'll get a piece of paper in your hand, and you will have to deliberately say, no, I'm not going to do this. Otherwise, the default is to do it. So that actually has increased a lot of participation. And secondly, I think another challenge has been to work on my own thing while people are coming in and out of the studio. And I think what it's asked me to do, or like forced me to do, is to kind of reconsider this idea of being an artist in a studio, solitarily working at like your thing, you know, trying to create your masterpiece or whatever or not, and think about the artist instead as like a facilitator, as a person who is trying to invoke like conversations and thoughts and whatever, and creating space rather than necessarily just only making tangible objects that you can buy and sell. Yeah. So actually it's a good challenge. Putting up the show at our outreach under Hearth has been a great experience because of many factors, but mainly the team is super nice and easy to work with, and also the space is really great. And I had tools here that would help me put things up, like very, you know, nuts and bolts kinds of things to put up the show. So that was super great. But honestly, I don't have any complaints, so it was just a great experience overall. Glowing review, 5 out of 5. So, you know, I put on the show by myself. So, I mean, I got some help from friends here and there, but mostly the bulk of the work was done by me. And how did I achieve that? I mean, it's such a big space, and I was a little bit intimidated, to be honest. But I think that by framing the show as an open studio and having it be like participatory, it also put a lot less pressure on me to have to create and install like so many things right from the beginning. So, I mean, that's a strategy if you're like working alone. But then if you want to put up a solo show, then it's a different story, you know? So I think that for me, I just prepared all the things that I needed to prepare before the show, like the wall text and like those things on the wall, and you know, kind of had an idea of layout and things like that. And what else did I do? Like, just kind of had a plan about everything before I came to the space. So then that kind of helped me, you know, execute it as soon as I was here. After this show, I'm going to be part of 2 similar projects. So one is directly related to this idea of becoming, and I'm going to be exploring this through a residency at Double Space, and I'm excited to see how this work that's been done here with these participants will continue to inform what becomes in a new space. And secondly, I'm also looking at another project, we're calling it Found Library, and we're looking at making a space where we can have objects that people can lend out and kind of spend a more extended time with these objects to potentially make something new, whether that be a text-based thing or, you know, a sculpture or photograph or whatever. And in the process, we're going to look at how objects are categorized typically in libraries and museums and things like that, but also kind of try to problematize that to see how we can relate to things beyond just noting down their characteristics and also like putting them into boxes. So yeah, it's a ongoing emergent thing, like all of these things are ongoing and emergent, and then that's in line with the idea of becoming, right? We're not just static beings, but we're always becoming, and so are my art projects. Yeah.